Hello Valorant players, are you looking to improve your fundamental skills in flicking, tracking, and peeking? Well, you're in luck because we got you covered with a playlist of 10 tasks specifically designed to improve your Valorant gameplay. If this is your first time learning about AimLab, I'd highly recommend watching our guide to configuring your settings before hopping into this playlist. Alright, so kicking off the first task in the playlist is Spidershot Ultimate, the perfect task to help you find your ideal starting position and training flicking from the center of the screen. A visual that may help is to think of the center orb as the center of a spider web. You first shoot the center orb, which then spawns a second orb randomly on the screen. Since this is the first task and we're just warming up, don't feel rushed to shoot as many targets as possible. The goal is to be fast with the second shot, so take the time if needed to adjust your grip and aiming arm in their ideal starting positions before taking the first shot. Think in twos, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. This task trains you for those Valorant situations when you simply are exposed to multiple angles and having to make a quick flick shot onto a peeking enemy. The next task is Ascent Headshot. Valorant's a game where many of the fights happen within the X-axis, so this task is excellent for training your horizontal left and right flicking skills. I'd recommend starting with the pace that ensures a hit on the target and then picking up the pace when you start feeling it. Similar to Spidershot, if your grip or aiming arm starts shifting randomly all over the place, take a moment to reset your positions so you can make clean horizontal flicks. If your mouse is moving too much diagonally, it's probably because your forearm and/or mouse sensor is over-rotated one way or the other, clockwise or counterclockwise, so make the necessary adjustments as needed. The third task is Microstartrack. Definitely not the most beginner-friendly task, but definitely one of the most helpful to train your micro-aiming skills. In Valorant, when dueling someone at a different vertical height, whether they're lower or higher, they are essentially moving within the same distance and direction as in Microstartrack. To help you track the target, use the small black orb that shows you the path that the target will travel to. This task not only trains your micro-aiming skills, but also your ability to quickly react to changes in direction. Let's continue training the micro-aiming skills with the fourth task, AscentMicroflex. By now, your fingers and hands should be warmed up from Microstartrack, so now let's incorporate click timing by shooting one of the two targets that spawn at the A entrance. If you feel like you're not warmed up at any point in this playlist or you feel like you need a repeat, by all means go for it. Everyone's skill level and strengths and weaknesses are different, so trust your feel and judgment to go through this playlist at your own pace and timing. This also includes taking small breaks. AscentMicroflex particularly trains your micro-aiming skills towards targets below you. Some examples include aiming downwards towards B entrance on split, and from A site to A short on Haven. The fifth task is Gridshot Ultimate, one of the most popular tasks in AimLab, and for good reason. This is an excellent task that is super fun to play and also great for general flick training. The first two tasks of this playlist focus on training a wider range of flicking area, while tasks 3 and 4 train the micro area. So now let's train the medium flicking area with Gridshot. Since we are playing the ultimate version of this task, the target size is quite generous. So unlike the previous tasks of starting with a slower, accurate pace, let's go for speed on this one. In Valorant, the goal is to always go for headshots, but sometimes going for a fast flick with body shots will get the job done. To continue training flicking within a medium distance, we'll be using Sixshot Ultimate, but this time, since the targets are tiny, we'll need to find the perfect balance of speed and precision. Start with the pace that ensures a hit on the target, and then ramp up the speed as you're hitting the groove. In Valorant, for those longer range engagements, it's definitely better to go for headshots, because at far distances, controlling full spray recoil is nearly impossible. If you're a Vandal user, then this task is perfect for you, so you can take advantage of that one-shot headshot kill. Up next is the second tracking task in the playlist, which is Switchtrack Ultimate. This task is great for practicing tracking targets moving horizontally at various verticalities. Some examples include looking towards B on Haven, or on split, looking towards A rafters or A towers from B site. Another reason I like this task is because the targets move at different speeds. If the enemy is closer, they move faster on the screen, while at longer distances, they move slower. This task is also helpful to train against those situations when those pesky jet players dash across the screen. Task 8 is Motionshot Ultimate. Think of this task like a combination of Spidershot, which was the first task in this playlist, and a combination of the previous task, Switchtrack. Shooting the center orb then spawns a secondary moving orb on the screen. This is similar to the situation when holding an angle and having to shoot down a Rhino orb, and in general, just good training for flicking from the center of the screen towards an enemy who peeks and swings from an unsuspecting location. Similar to Spidershot Ultimate, make sure you're in your ideal starting positions with your hands, grip, and body before shooting the center orb. Remember, 1-2-1-2, focusing on the quickness and accuracy of the second shot. The next task is AscentWallPeek, located in the back room of B site. This is a great task to train your fundamental peeking skills as you have to take turns peeking towards the left and right side. The red boxes indicate how many targets have spawned on each side. Just like in Valorant, there's a penalty to the weapon accuracy while moving and shooting, so make sure you're stopped before shooting. You can use the counter strafe technique, which is letting go of your current movement key and then quickly tapping the opposite strafe key to make sure you're frozen in place. A tip is to slice your peeks into chunks by tapping your strafe keys so you're peeking the angles one by one. What you don't want to do is move too much into open, which leaves you overexposed and vulnerable to multiple angles. As you get familiar with peeking each side, you'll begin to pre-aim your crosshair through the wall at the positions the targets will most likely be, saving you precious milliseconds. The 10th and final task is HavenEntry, a task perfect for training your ability to enter towards the A site while shooting targets at common defensive positions. This is a step up in difficulty from WallPeek, as there are more targets to shoot and at different angles and distances. Just like in the previous WallPeek task, there is an accuracy penalty while moving and shooting. Practice pre-aiming your crosshair so it's already lined up when you peek new angles. And just like WallPeek, time your movement so you're not overexposing yourself, but instead peeking just enough to give you line of sight. Use your first few runs to figure out where all the bots are located, and then continue refining your route and crosshair placement. When you reach the defender spawn, you'll be teleported back to the beginning to rerun the route. If you like this task, AimLab is working on creating more versions just like this on all the Valorant maps. Make sure to follow our social channels to stay up to date, and feel free to share this video to your buddies who need a little more Valorant training. Thanks for watching, and flick shot that thumbs up button if this was helpful.